All right, this is Vernon Lee, co-founder of the Hampton Roads Youth Foundation. Welcome to another episode of the 757 Roundtable. There's been a lot that has happened this year in 2020 with the pandemic. There's been a huge impact to people's lives, sporting events, but in many ways, when you think about the Olympics, I'm not sure, Carl, if there's anything that's been as big on the sporting side as the Olympics and athletes with some of the things we've been talking about. So we do have a very, very special guest with us today. You want to do an intro?
Well, definitely, I'm super excited about this young lady we have with us today because she is certainly one of Virginia's finest and surely one of the best athletes that's ever come out of our state, actually. And proud alumnus of HBCU. And as you know, we affectionately, adopt her down in the 757, but she is an 804. She's the 804. But no, Olympian. I can't even go down the list of different things that she's accomplished. Olympic bronze medalist in 2012 Olympic Games, graduate of the James River High School in Chesterfield, and has done a lot of work in a charitable spaces and domestic violence and sexual abuse to young people. And also, she just recently they created a invitational in her name at her high school. I think last year or year before last was your first year. I'm not sure, but I'm just glad to have Kellie Wells Brinkley on. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Honored. I have seen the caliber of guests that you have had. So when I got the call, of course, yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
Well, for those Carl gave a little bit of a brief overview, but one of the things we always ask the guests in their own words to tell us about, sort of being grown up in Richmond and take us up to your decision of attending Hampton University. Just tell us a little bit about kind of where you grew up, a little bit of background for everyone.
Richmond, Virginia, but I'm actually from like outside the city. It's called Chesterfield County. So my high school was predominantly like a white high school. And I loved it. We got such a great, education was like number one there. My junior year, we were like a national school of excellence, like a blue ribbon high school. So they really pushed academics there. Athletics was key. I ended up being state champion in the hurdles my senior year of high school, and my junior year of high school, my mom actually passed away. So I was, looking at a bunch of different colleges. I visited like Penn State, LSU, looked at like lots of places, but then I ended up wanting to stay close to home because I have a younger brother who's 2 years younger than me, and he and I are super close, and I just wasn't ready to like fully leave him while I like went off to college and he was just home. So that was, and then I remember meeting Maurice Pierce, who's the head coach at Hampton, and I just crossed the finish line of winning the state championship. And there's this little guy. I mean, Maurice is not that tall. I remember like jumped out from behind the bushes and like handed me some papers. He was like, "You're coming to Hampton," and I'm like, "What? What? Wait, what?" What's happening here? And then I did some research and I found out that at the time the head coach there was Mamie Rollins, God rest her soul. She passed away a couple years ago, 2 years ago in a car accident. But she was the Olympic team hurdle coach. And I was like, well, shoot, if she's, on the Olympic staff and I'm a hurdler, like it only makes sense that I would go there. And then I started researching the rich history of hurdlers that Hampton has put out. So I was sold. And then once I set foot on campus, I was really sold. Like when I saw all the different colors and kinds of Black folks, because at first I had a hesitation of going there, like would I fit in because I had grew up around all white people, or I had people in my ear like, oh my gosh, you're just gonna go to school with just Black people? Like there's not a mix of people, like. And then like what came to mind when especially when I visited with the team, just because everybody's Black doesn't mean everyone's the same.
Right.
So that was really like, oh, and then to see how close they were and how family oriented our program was, I was sold.
It's funny. listening to your story because there's this big conversation around athletes making decisions, high profile athletes making decisions and going to historically Black college and university. And, you know, when you think of all the great schools you could have attended, like the University of Virginia, could have went there. I mean, I don't know how they track programs, but I'm saying you could have went there, Penn State, maybe other schools, and you have the more um, popular programs such as LSU, you have Houston, and I forget it's another one, UCLA and all these schools. And for you to see Hampton, it was like you were sort of in that space of changing the trajectory of the highly recruited athlete that made the decision to say, okay, let me think this through strategically. When you look at the coach of Hampton University, he was the Olympic track coach. So that kind of makes, and that's the connection, right? And then you got the school experience of this campus life. Like, give me a little bit more into that mindset, like how you thought it through, because it is interesting. You have all these football players and they're talking about going to HBCUs. You have 5-star basketball players, and I'll look at you as a 5-star, you know, track athlete if there's a such thing. But for you to make that decision, what when it? I mean, I know you explained it, but were you thinking about the impact that you were making going to Hampton versus going to the schools?
I definitely thought about how on the educational side, I wouldn't be just a number.
Right. Okay.
So I visited the classrooms and I saw the classroom sizes and they were small. And that was something that was very important to me, and being able to sit with professors and chairs of, you know, programs of what I was thinking of studying and how they knew their students. It wasn't just like, oh, I think they're in my lecture class of 500 people. Like, it wasn't that. So that was something that was very important to me. And looking at the team, I didn't want to get lost in the sauce of a major university and being like, okay, so I wanted to have an impact, and I wanted to have an impact early. And it just, you know, so happened to work out that way, thankfully. And I just love the rich history that comes from the HBCU. I remember when I drove by, my mom also went to Virginia State. So like I had a very good understanding of what it was to come from an HBCU. And I remember on my visit to Hampton, they took me by the Emancipation Oak and then, you know, explained to me the whole story. And it just gave me chills because I'm like, man, this is my history, not just, you know, world history, not our country history, not Virginia history, but like something that directly impacts me and my family and my brown skin. And I just think like without Hampton, you know, I wonder what kind of Black woman I would have been, because it shaped me and changed me and molded me into who I am today. And like it is, I'm forever, forever thankful for my time at Hampton.
So, you know, it's for those that don't know, you know, everyone on here actually attended a HBCU, and, you know, we may have some bias, but did you feel any sort of pressure, so to speak, both athletically or for your growth before you got there? So once you learned about the history and the background of Hampton, you know, you got this Olympic coach. Did you feel a certain pressure from a athletic standpoint at any point? Or did you lean into it? Did you accept it? Was there any consternation about that? Because I know a lot of athletes, it's something they're always processing. And, you know, you've achieved a wonderful level of success. How did you work through that when you got to campus?
I'm really competitive, like probably like overly like a sickness of a competitiveness. And so I was humbled because, you know, where I was coming from, I was the best. And then I walked into a situation where I wasn't the best anymore. And it made me buy into the program and see how the older girls conducted themselves. And, you know, they set a very strong example for how our team is and how it was and what was going to happen. So it was more pressure just to get better and to know that like now I'm going from, you know, a small scale to a bigger scale. And then once I saw, like when we started traveling to meets and seeing, you know, the bigger schools, like I didn't want to be known as like Kellie, the girl that's good at Hampton. I was, you know, my thought was let's take over the world. And so it was just small bites to get there. So I mean, there definitely was pressure to do well, but I think it was more self-pressure than anything.
That's cool. No, you know, take us on that journey because and this is what I really want to do. I really want to go down this line, and I want you to help me out. Seriously,
Okay.
talk about all the young ladies that went to Hampton and that went on that journey through the Olympics. I know there are a lot, but I know Francena, I know, but can you help us by telling us
Yeah.
who the young ladies were, please?
Okay. I mean, there were women before me, back
Mhm.
in like the 80s who
Okay,
I'm not very familiar with.
that's all right. Just your era.
Um, so there's myself, Yvette Lewis. She's the associate head coach at Hampton now, so she's right under Maurice Pierce. There's Lavon Idolette, um, Fran,
Mhm.
and then we had some guys. There's James Carter. He was a guy. Brandon Jones, and like three other younger guys who all run for different countries. And so at the time at the Olympics, it was like myself and Lavon, who was like 2 years younger than me. We were both at the Olympics together. And
Okay.
then Yvette came right after. Oh, Fran was there too. So, we felt super lucky because we looked at like a lot of the major, like the top fives. And we're looking like, dang, we have 3 or 4 girls representing all at once. And they don't even have that.
Mm.
And it was just very awestrucking of like, man, look at this little old school, and I have to explain to people where it is, and we have all these people at the Olympics, and at LSU may have one or two.
Really? See, and that's just it, right? When you think of Hampton University, it was almost like I kind of just compare it to how it was at Hampton back in the 80s in tennis,
Oh, that one.
because tennis was very big. Remember that, Vernon, when tennis was very
Oh
big
yeah,
back in the
very
80s?
well known.
And for you guys to have had so many Olympians in one place from such a small school, did you guys feel that energy when you were guys walking around London and you were kind of engaging with other countries and other schools? And it's like, you got LSU over there, and they were very good. LSU is they
Mhm.
Houston, all these other schools, and it's like 3 from Hampton University.
Yep. And it was about 9 of us total that hung together that were all from HBCUs.
Oh,
And I think maybe 6 of us medaled at the Olympics. And we clung together because that HBCU net is like family. And
Right.
we may not like we knew everybody, but we knew like if nobody's pulling for you, we're pulling for you because we know the struggle. Like we
right,
know.
right.
So it was just it was a beautiful sight to see. There was myself and there's another guy named Michael Tinsley and Fran, and looking at, I'm like, dang, look at us on this podium. And people would say that we didn't, we couldn't even get out of the NCAA stuff. And now look.
Wow.
Now. So
So tell us.
it was so great.
That's awesome.
So tell us a little bit about that Olympic experience. I mean, getting there, preparing for it. Um, take us through that, and then I also want you to maybe share, before that gun sounds, like, where's your mind mentally? I mean, like, I love, and with you being so competitive. So take us on a little bit on the journey on just what the experience was like, and then leading up
Yeah.
to maybe that first heat, and mentally, what are you thinking about before that gun sounds?
People think that, you prepare for the Olympics, every 4 years. And that is not the truth. You are preparing for the Olympics. I was preparing for the Olympics way back in college.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just doesn't happen. And like there's a process to it. So yes, you have your one-offs. Like, I mean, Fran is over the moon talented. Like, she was great in high school. Like, I remember the first time I saw that little girl running, I was like, who is that? Who is this beast? But for the average working Joe, you got to put together, multiple years of doing good. And, it's total dedication. So at this point, I had moved from Hampton down to Florida. So I wasn't coming back to Virginia as often as I would like. I would miss out on family stuff. And baby showers, weddings, stuff like that, because I had to have complete tunnel vision. And I knew that I had one goal. Well, I had two goals: making the team and making the podium. And if it didn't align with that, then it just had to go on the side for a while. Like, because I knew that, yes, I could skip 3 days of practice to go to this wedding or go to Virginia to hang out. But then if I didn't achieve my goal, I would always be thinking about what would have happened if I, stayed and worked harder or did extra. So I almost made the team in 2008, but nope, yeah, 2008. But in the semifinal, I ran a personal best, and it was actually the time that won the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
But I tore my hamstring as I crossed the line, and every doctor that I went and saw, every physiotherapist, I went all over the world. And they were like, Kellie, we don't know what happened and why you broke it, but you'll probably never run fast again. Like, just accept that. And I was like, well, bro, have you met me though? Like, I do the undoable. Like, so just relax. So coming back into 12, it was like a complete vengeance, and like I was taking no mess. And I remember when I crossed the line for making the team, it was just like such elation because, right, I knew that I was 30 at that time. And y'all know what 30 is in athletics. Like, you don't go much past that because one, they're going to phase you out, and two, your body just starts changing. So I knew that this was like do or die time. Like, you have to do this. So when I crossed the line and made the team, it was just like a relief because I knew that all that I had fought through to get there and all that I'd sacrificed and given up, and, I didn't have the picture perfect life, and I didn't come from, tons of support. So to know that, like, dang, I did this like mostly by myself. And now look where I am. And I just remember, like, my training group didn't do the opening ceremonies because it's about a 12-hour day of standing and walking. So we watched it from the hotel. But I still remember feeling that same pride of, man, like, this is it. Like, this is history. Like, the world has stopped. The world stops for 2 weeks to watch the Olympics. And I was like, child, you better show up and show out. It ain't no, like, ain't no half stepping. And I just remember before the start of my final, I remember looking over and there was like Kobe, God rest his soul, he's my favorite player, and LeBron. Like, the team was sitting there and they came to watch us compete.
Wow.
And that was such a huge moment to me because I'm like, man, these are the people that, I buy tickets for to watch, and they are here to support me and my team. And that just made it even more of like, yo, we gotta get it. Like, it was just, it was like these tickly, pringly, like, oh my gosh, like, I never felt as ready as I was at the Olympics by far.
Tell me this, with so much success coming from Hampton University, what is it about that program that you think makes you guys so talented as a group and go as far as the Olympics? Is it Maurice himself, who, for those who don't know, is a Newport News native, Warwick High School,
Let him tell it, bad news.
all of that, great guy. What is it about Hampton that makes it so special that they turn out so many great Olympians? Like, that's just a fact. That's what it is.
I think there's a combination of things. So, at Hampton, there is have you guys seen that show that comes on Netflix called Last Chance U?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I say that Hampton is the real Last Chance U because we get lots of, what are they called? Prop 5 or Prop 1? Prop somebody. 48. I knew it was a number in there. We get lots of people that are like that are so talented, but just don't have the grades to go to a big D1. So then they have the gray shirt, and then they can move on to competing. So football, basketball, all the sports that we have get a lot of those athletes from the Virginia area. And like I was telling y'all, like, I'll put Virginia up against any state in all sports for talent level. So I know that we get lots of the props. And then there's a culture that's instilled in the track team of, we run this. Like, When I came in, we were undefeated in the MEAC. We never lost. And so we didn't lose. We lost one time at MEACs when I was in college. And that was terrible.
Wow.
Maurice was not happy.
She's still mad.
No, I'm still mad. Like, and Maurice was not happy. He'll never let us live that down either. But like, I have, 10 championship rings from, when I competed there. So there was that level of excellence that was expected. And everyone got on board. You didn't have a choice because it was either you're on board or you're just not on the team. And we just constantly elevated ourselves over and over and over and over. So that was just the thing of like, okay, I saw, Chloe and Lakima, they're going to NCAAs. Well, how do I do that? How do I get there? And so it was just like a cycle of wanting to match talent and match energy. And Maurice didn't he didn't accept anything other than your best all the time. And even if you thought you were giving your best, he would still chew you out because he knew that there was more in you than what you thought. So yeah, he didn't play any games.
That's good stuff. I just think that what you guys accomplished by even going to the Olympics is so important that I think it's not talked about enough, because you guys really put, like, when you're watching the Olympics, which obviously we missed out this year, but thinking back on the past Olympics when you guys participated, when everybody's watching television and they do the intros, like, I didn't even have to know you to be connected to you, to say, man, she from Richmond, like, that's awesome, right? And so here she is. So it's like that feeling that you say, I know her. Like, Fran was a little different because, her being a Bruin. So I kind of heard all the people, this is a young girl at Bethel running track or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. Stay y'all so young. It's like that's what we. So it was like what Fran was doing, she was supposed to do because she's from Bethel, right? That's how I think. And then, but to hear you from Richmond, from Chesterfield, and to hear all the other young ladies, y'all brought the state and obviously the 757 so much pride. Did you guys feel that too when you ran?
Absolutely. I know that, people reaching out from, 804, 757, seeing they're putting up billboards of us. It was just amazing to see that of like, yo, they really got us. Like, they got us and they got us. And that makes you push even harder because what you're doing is bigger than just for yourself. Like, of course, we all want to win and get on the podium because it feels good to us. But to actually like carry cities on your back, like, that's the dopest feeling ever.
It has to be. It has to be.
So speaking of Hampton University track and 757, we have another guest who's with us. Fran, how you doing?
Hey, y'all. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Yes, baby. Hi, Franny.
Hi. Oh my God, I'm on auntie duties this weekend.
It's okay. We in the flow. Just jump right in. We in the flow.
Kellie, look, I salute you. Listen, I salute you. Being a mom, athlete, it ain't for the weak, honey.
It's not for the weak. You gotta wake up ready every day.
Woo.
Every day.
And you be tired, and people feel like you ain't did nothing.
Well, Fran, we've been talking a little bit of history about Hampton track and decisions on attending. I mean, some people know your story, but for those who don't, could you just walk us through? Kellie told us about her journey to Hampton. Can you tell us a little? I mean, of course we know because we know each other, but for those that are watching that don't know the story, talk about your, growing up in Hampton and your transition to making a decision to attend Hampton.
Okay. My mom is a single mom of 7 kids. I got to Hampton when I was 5. Met my godmom, Kentrie's Pace Fierce, when I was about 12. I was a little unruly, doing whatever I wanted to do. I kind of needed track to kind of put me on the right track. So I was ordered to stay after school at track practice every day by my godmom, Kentrie's Pace Fierce, and had a successful high school career. And then my mom went to Hampton University. My godmom, Kentrie's Pace Fierce. She's a Delta. I wanted to be a Delta. became all of those things like my mommy, because I love my mommy. So that's when I met Maurice Pierce, because he married my mom in 2003. And we've been embedded ever since. And that's when I got to meet Kellie and Yvette, and they're like my sisters for life, for sure.
Well, Vernon and I and Kellie talked a little bit about, there's this big conversation right now about 5-star athletes turning down the major universities, going to the big time schools to go to HBCUs for that culture, for just that acceptance, that historical kind of background, that feeling you get when you go to HBCU. Was it the same for you? Like, I know those things kind of pulled you in with your godmother, Maurice, her being adults and everything, but you were recruited by everybody in the country, right?
Right.
But you could have went to LSU, Houston. I mentioned a couple of those schools, UCLA maybe, but you chose Hampton, right?
So I feel like the same type of thing without like the public media around it.
Right.
It was the only difference was we didn't have Instagram and Facebook and CNN reporting it. It was the same type of thing. Like, Kellie was there. I saw that Kellie had great success. Kellie is so beautiful. Like, we looked up to her. When we got there, they were our big sisters. Like, without people giving them any incentive, without people like bribing them, they taught us automatically when we came in. Like, this is how you should act like a lady. This is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't do. Along with my godmom. So it was the same kind of atmosphere. It was the same kind of situation. It just wasn't that much public media around it.
Yeah.
Fran, Kellie was sharing part of her journey in 2008 and the injury she had in terms of the Olympics. Could you tell and kind of share everybody your experience, making your first Olympic team? What was that like? Was it extra pressure? Did you lean into it? Like, what was your mindset for that part of the journey?
2012 Olympics, I was a newbie on the block. So I just signed my professional contract in 2010. So I was just there to use my talent, to be honest. I was, of course, like, me and Kellie made the same Olympic team. So I was like, okay, Tony in here, because that matters. That matters. Because even when I was in college, when I won NCAAs 3 times, they didn't look at me same caliber as they did the PWIs. Like, they look at me like, oh, what school are you from again? Where did you graduate from? And I'm like, I busted 2 years ago. Same thing. I'm the same person, but they didn't look at HBCUs in the same caliber as they did, like Texas A&M or University. So even in the announcements, they will announce them before us. Even if you NCAA champion, and I'm sure like Kellie could.
It's the same. Or they'll be like, "Where is that school? What?
Yeah.
What is that?"
And it's like,
and I'd be like, "Don't worry, we'll show you. We'll show you."
Yeah, because it's like, I did it last year. I'm the same person on this event last year. I'm going to win it again and again and again. So. Yeah.
I just remember, Fran, before your final in 2012, I don't know, we were somewhere and you were about to run and you were just so nervous. You remember, you used to get so nervous. And I was like, baby, you are the most talented thing I literally have ever laid eyes on in my entire life. And I've seen a lot of athletes. And you used to get so nervous. I remember we just talked about your race plan. And I was so happy when you made the team. I remember like just being so overjoyed. It felt like, I mean, like, you're like my family. So I remember it was like my little sister, like, oh, look at the baby. Oh, she did it. And like, you did it in such class and style. And I've always felt like that when I watch you run, like the level of like class and style that you carry yourself with, and how you don't ever succumb to people always trying to tell you like, oh, you should run like this or you should do that. You do what you got to do and move on. And I've been so proud of you for so long.
Thank you. And I get that from you, to be honest. Like, I do feel like the influence and the advice and the sisterhood that I got from going to a HBCU, I wouldn't have. Like, Kellie is always one phone call away. If I'm even dealing with stuff outside of the track, I could call her and she'd be like, no, boo. That's not what we're doing.
We're not doing that. No.
You know, so like, I feel like the connections that I have, crazy, and I'm forever.
Now, I'm going to ask you something, Fran, a little more specific about going to Bethel, because Bethel has had a lot of success in track. Yes. And Vernon, you know that we were in school.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I give Bethel that.
Coach.
I give Bethel that.
Oh, football coach
Carl. Guy, I can do it.
He was one of the best. I mean, we all the pin relays and all that, right? And I think your coach at the time when I was in Bethel, because he went to VMI, right?
Yeah.
I forget his name. I think he had a brother, right? Did he have a brother? I remember him being in school. I think he was in college when I was in school, right? In high school, and just hearing about him and others in that era, and then coming along my time when you had, Curtis Pond, DeMont Van, Michael Wood, I mean, all the guys that ran, and the girls too. And then coming along, recognize Leslie Satchel and the other young ladies that come along.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about that history of like going to Bethel and having that, all that history of track success, and then you kind of taking it and just blowing the roof off, right? In terms of our legacy.
So I would honestly say, like, this has been God's divine intervention, because when I went to Bethel High School, I was considered an at-risk youth. So like when I got to Bethel, I didn't know all the stats. Like my mom didn't run track. My dad didn't run track. My mom didn't go to college. My dad has a seventh grade education. So like when I went to Bethel, it wasn't like, oh, we're going here specifically to be good at track.
Right.
Coach Eddie kind of brought me in like,
right.
Hey, so we saw you in gym class with Mr. Holmes. We saw your mile times. We gonna mess with you over here. You know what I'm saying? We want to on the track. I wanted to go with my friends to do ratchet things with my friends, to be honest. So like when I ran and then when I went to track practice every day, they were like, oh, you could be good. I had no idea that I can go to college on a full scholarship. I had no idea that I could be a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. I had no idea any of that. I was just doing it as a hobby to stay out of trouble. So Coach Eddie, his coaching style is he doesn't look at you like, oh, you're a meal ticket. He looks at you like you're an individual. So he was like, hey, I see that you're talented. I want to come at you. So I want to see your full potential. And that's what worked for me our whole career. Like, even when I broke the indoor national high school record, Coach Eddie was like, just go out there and do your thing. We're going to be happy either way. I was like, cool, boom. I'm just having fun. So that's how our relationship formed.
Right. That's awesome.
So there's a lot that's been, particularly I was saying the last year or two with women in sports. I think the U.S. women's soccer team, WNBA, there's been a lot of movement in terms of, equal pay. I mean, with track and field, there's no TV contracts, with some things being seasonal. Could you guys share with us, like, what's happening in terms of, for you individually, as well as the broader women in track and field in terms of sort of equal pay and recognition contracts and things like that? I know that, there's been a lot that's been talked about and written about, but, we're in a very unique time, with social justice and the movement that's taking place. And I think that's crossing all areas. Because you guys, for Kellie and Fran, both of you guys, just, share a little bit of what's happening. Is there the same type of energy that's happening, or is it more roadblocks, obstacles that's happening?
So we definitely fight for equal pay, but for our sport, the hardest part for us is the maternity part. That is what is huge in our sport, and there's been lots of reform, and women are still fighting for more reform because usually, if you got pregnant, you know, you got cut from your contract completely. So then you go from making whatever you're making to like $0. You lose your health insurance when you need your health insurance the most. So there's been lots of talk and fighting and struggling about that because, you know, I didn't have a baby till after I retired, and I retired when I was what, 32, almost 33, because I knew if you don't have adequate family support or add like someone there to take care of your child, it is impossible. And then thinking about travel schedules, and if you're not one of the, you know, bigger name athletes, and the meets will fly your husband or your nanny and the baby over to Europe with you, you have to, you know, put into your mind like, dang, I'm gonna have to be gone from my child for, you know, weeks or even months on end. So that is a huge, huge fight in our sport because, you know, the men don't have to feel it, and it shouldn't be, you know, a death sentence for your career, you know, to experience one of the happiest things of your life. So that is huge in our sport. And we're definitely also fighting for equal pay because you can look at like what male sprinters are paid to what female sprinters are paid, and it is night and day. What is more opposite than night and day? Like it is that. And then also looking at, you know, black distance runners against white distance runners, and, you know, what they pay a white distance runner in comparison to black, you know, a black athlete like Fran or I that may make the podium, and, you know, they may not get out of the semifinal or just make the final, is astronomically different.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
help us understand in the pay, does that from endorsements? Is that from
yes.
teams? Is it a combination of those things?
Well, we don't make money from teams per se. Like there are like we get stuff from our contract and our, but so it's from your shoe contract. So Nike, Adidas, whoever is your shoe sponsor, that is where the majority of your money comes from. And you get paid from racing and stuff, but the majority of your money comes from your guaranteed contract.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, Fran?
Yeah.
I can piggyback on everything that you just said, you know, and I want to say I can take it even far beyond of you're not being like a mother or like you said, it's still like white 400-meter runners or white distance runners that's getting paid more than me right now because you know, and they do it based on rankings. Like if you didn't run this certain time, they don't care if you got an Olympic gold medal, two medals, bronze medal. That doesn't matter. You know, like if you're not performing for them right then, you know, you get cut. But like she said, if you're one of our counterparts, they'll talk to them and give them like, oh well, what's been going on in your life, or we'll take, you know, if you have a mental health issue, like we'll take it into consideration and we'll still pay you. But with us, that's not how it happens.
Are there any, I mean, for people that's watching, I mean, are there any solutions? Is it, you know, people holding Nike, Adidas, some other, sponsors accountable? I mean, what is it that we could do with the audiences watching to help empower and getting the word out for what you guys are dealing with?
I know that Nike has done a huge reform on their maternity leave. It took, you know, Allison Felix, you know, going through what she went through and it being picked up by mainstream media. See, there he goes. A lot of stuff that we go through, they said hi. A lot of stuff that we go through, mainstream media never gets a chance to see or hear about because our sport is one of the lesser sports, or it is only, you know, popular every 4 years. And if it doesn't happen to you in an Olympic year, it didn't happen. So it is just, it's getting our stories out, you know, liking someone, listening to them, you know, following them on social media and really embracing who they are as an athlete. And then it takes athletes also to speak up, you know, to their shoe companies, to the media, share their stories. And, you know, we have to be careful about how we share our stories now, because the moment a shoe company or a sponsor starts feeling attacked, that necessarily isn't the correct way to go about it. But there's a way to share your story so that everyone can know what's happening. You know, there's been lots of women that, you know, have waited till the 9th hour or the 11th hour to talk about, you know, I'm pregnant. And because just from fear, only fear, they're afraid they're going to get cut, so they, you know, walk around hiding their pregnancy or trying to compete through pregnancy.
Wow.
And yeah, it's you know, super bad. There's a girl, Alicia Montano, she, you know, had to run like 8 or 9 months pregnant at a meet because to meet the threshold of number, like
Well, I've never heard that.
yeah, and like we thought she was doing it for like publicity purposes, but come to find out, in your contract there are so many meets that you have to run in order to not get cut, and she was 1 meet short, so she had to go run because obviously she has a child to take care of in, you know, a couple of weeks. And, you know, people bashed her online like, oh my gosh, that's not safe for the baby, not knowing that she's doing that because she has to. So it's really just sharing it and making people aware that, you know, we go through things too, and like this is how we make our money. This is our job. Yes, you may not see us on Monday nights or Sunday nights, but we here too.
Wow. So if she had not ran that last race, they could have held back her payment on her contract?
Yep. Talking about Alicia Montano, friend.
Okay. Sorry, y'all.
No,
My mom, I come get the baby. So.
Oh, good.
That's all right.
Yeah. So Fran, I'm gonna ask you. 2012, I think it was, Kellie. You were talking about when you guys had Levon, you, Kellie. Everybody was like three. Was it 3 representatives from Hampton? I don't want to get it.
Fran, who was on the team with us? You, me, and Levon.
Levon.
Yeah. It's 16 and 12.
No, 12.
Well,
I think it was just me and you. Levon wasn't on the team in 12.
No, she was on the team in 12.
Okay.
No,
But,
you know what? I could be lying. No, she was on the team in 12.
She was on the team in 12. Well,
okay.
Let me say this. When you guys were there in 12, in 12 or 16 Olympics, when you guys are there as a family and you're representing Hampton University, and like Kellie said, you're looking at LSU with maybe 1, or A&M with 1, or UCLA with 1. Did you get this feeling of, man, this is really kind of crazy to me that we're from Hampton, Virginia, little Hampton, and we're together representing Hampton, Virginia, in the state of Virginia, and Hampton University, where people wouldn't even come close to thinking that 3 young ladies from a HBCU could actually qualify for the Olympics and compete. Did you get that feeling of pride when you were there, you were racing, Fran, when you were just in the moment?
Definitely the feeling of pride, but I didn't think that like it was like we got there by chance or luck. Like I know Kellie is major talented. Like before I got there, all I heard was Kellie Wells. So I knew to be there. So it wasn't a feeling of shock. I was just happy that we were there.
Yeah. And then you say there was this family of HBCUs, like a group of you guys, like hanging out all the time, saying hello, having lunch. Did you have that HBCU feeling too when you connected with all the other HBCU participants?
Yes, absolutely. Like when you were driving down 64, you saw me and Kellie Wells on the billboards. Like Hampton definitely supported us 100%. So we felt like every time we were running, we felt like we had our family on our back. So. Right.
What about when you were at the Olympics? Like, weren't there other athletes that went to HBCUs who were there with you guys?
We just worried about Hampton.
I know that's right. You're terrible. Yeah, she's 7'5'7". I can tell.
All day.
Yeah, you went to Bethel. I got it.
Happy, but
so one of the things we, since Carl and I've been hosting this, whether it's 757 or VA, 2 up, 2 down, we always talk about there's a different mentality in terms of athletes coming out of Virginia. and Kellie, you were talking about it a little bit earlier, but that the competitive nature, is it something that you felt like it had to be, did you always have it for both of you guys, or did it get built up? Was it the training and confidence that started getting there? Because I've seen both of you compete, and y'all are some fierce sisters, and I love it. I mean, I love seeing you compete. But just because I know there's a lot of, men and women are very interested in like that mindset in terms of athletic competition and how you guys either prepared or got that, that VA swag to compete.
Is a question to me first?
Yes, you can
okay.
take it.
I just think it's something that's within you. Like, I know, like, we're all Hampton natives. Like, once you meet another Hamptonian, or once you meet somebody else from the 757 period, we're like, okay, anytime we're going to compete on something, on the athletic scale, we're gonna do our best. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just something that's in you. Like, there's certain people that are very talented, and then there's people that got that dog in them. And I'll take that dog any day. Like, I can buff you up and, teach you some things, but I feel like you can never ever beat a dog. Like, somebody who is never gonna give up. Like, and I feel like, especially from that 7-5 area, there's that mentality of like, you gotta get out. You gotta, like, because there are so many pitfalls like all over the country, but I can only speak on like from what I see. And I've met so many great athletes from Virginia, from the 7-5 area, and you'd be like, yo, how did they get so good? And you'd be like, well, look where they come from. This was their way out. This was what they knew. And yes, people talking about, well, like, athletics isn't the only way out. Yeah, but they use that to further themselves. So now they use their athletics to open up restaurants, to, build scholarships for people. So it is a build yourself up off of where your passion may be, to give back to the youth, when it's the right time, when you're, retiring, or while you're still playing. So I know that I can think about, a lot of guys that's in the league, people that play basketball, people that run track, and you'd be like, yo, I see why they're a dog. Like, yeah, I see.
And
Go ahead.
all of the athletes in the 757, we all have that same down-earth mentality. Like, we're all like very, and I might be like preaching on us, I might be biased, but I feel like we're very personal. Like, we're all very, like, you can walk up to us and like be like, hey girl, like, oh, how did you feel about this? And we'll answer questions. We're not like, oh, get away from me, boom, boom, boom. So I feel like we're all very relatable, and that means a lot.
Well, it's funny when you travel with what you guys have all around the world, and you go to different states and you talk about the state of Virginia. You guys have helped put the state of Virginia on the map for sure. I mean, just hands down. But it's funny when you come inside the state, there's these, like you said, Kellie, earlier, this competition that happens within the state that people outside the state don't know, right? So you look for the 757, we kind of look at the 804 like, well, we don't know about y'all, right? but outside the state, we're connected, right? But then it's funny, Kellie, in the 757, we kind of look at people across the water like, on the south side, like, yeah, well, you from the south side, you ain't from the peninsula. But it keeps us competitive with each other. So when we leave the state and we look at the state, it's like we all in this one bubble together. Of, oh, you from Virginia? Oh, yeah, I'm from Virginia. Okay, where you from? I'm from here, And it's because it's like that all the time. Because when Vernon and I travel all the time in my business, and they say, the 757. If a guy claims it from Portsmouth or Norfolk, I'm like, yeah, he's 757. But when I come home, it's like, yeah, but he from the other side. He from South Side.
Like, you kind of like
But I would say, like, it's a lot. I would say it's a lot of like NFL athletes from this area, but track and field, as far as female that makes it to the Olympics,
oh, no question,
of our own. So like, once we go to the Olympics, and like, I don't care if she was from Nova Scotia, we both from Virginia, and we, because super lot of NFL athletes here, but me and Kellie, Yvette and Devon, we're like the only, I don't know, Natasha Colander,
Right.
like, you know, like we do have, but like I want to speak for my generation. Like, like it's not a lot of us. It's a lot of football players. It's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of regular people from here, but it's not a lot of track and field runners. So,
well, I want to talk to you guys a lot because you guys do a lot in the community too. So, you know, you guys know what you represent. You know the people you impact, young ladies and young men who are from the area, particularly from Hampton University and from wherever HBCUs. You know, Fran, I want you to talk a little bit about what you've been doing in your community. I know last time we talked, you had a camp, you were helping young people learn how to run and do some things in the area. Talk a little bit about what you've been doing. And then Kellie, then I'll flip it over to you.
yeah, so I also, I started my own timing company. So I time around the area. I do college, I do everything. So, you know, just to give back to the track and field athletes, I hand out awards and things like that, you know, just to show our young youth, preferably African-American youth, that like, if we can make it out, y'all can too.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And Kellie, you had your first track and field tournament in your name back in James River High School. Talk to us about that. How did that come to fruition?
I had just been talking about, like, I wanted something of my own. Like, I feel like I'd, you know, done so much to give back to the school and, you know, always going back and speaking and visiting. And so there was a new track coach. He's only been there a couple of years. And, you know, we sat down and we're like, how can we make this happen? And we just kind of birthed it of, you know, the day before we're going to have, you know, we're coming out and talking to the students. And then the morning of, we're going to have a track camp and, you know, teach the kids how to run, teach them the things that, you know, they may not know. Their coaches are invited as well to learn, to input, because I don't want to teach an athlete something that their coach doesn't know either. So we wanted to bring those in. You know, this year I'm so disappointed that we didn't get to have it because we were going to have, you know, on Friday before the meet is on Saturday. We wanted to have people from all professions come out and meet with the students and talk to them about, you know, different stuff. We were going to have people from the medical field come out and do, you know, high blood pressure testing, diabetes, stuff like that, talk to the parents about it on Saturday at the meet, because I feel like all of that kind of stuff goes together. And I know that when I was coming up, I had so many distractions of, you know, my mom, you know, being in terrible relationships and, you know, then her passing away. And so I wanted to help these parents figure out how to take stuff off of their kids' plate, stuff that they shouldn't be worried about or caring about. So even if it's just their health, how can we help you guys be healthy? How can we help the students see that there is stuff outside of just athletics? Because everybody doesn't make it. So like, you're going to be professional at something. You may not be a professional athlete. So what is your profession going to be and how do you get there? So I'm huge on showing people that, because I hate to see people put all their eggs in one basket, because I mean, all of us on here know how hard it is to make it, and not just make it, but stay there. And so I want them to know that there's stuff outside of athletics. Even if you do make it, what are you going to do when it's done? How are you going to manage yourself? Because then there's what happens when the lights turn off, because like that's a hard pill to swallow. So that's what we were going to do. So hopefully in 2021, we can get it back on. And then I want to hire Fran as my official timer so we can keep this thing moving in a circle. Because, you know, I saw you were at Liberty, was it? And you timed me.
I saw that too. It was great.
Like, that was contract. It was amazing. We ran it very smooth.
Of course you did. So like, it was just like, yo, like that is actually perfect, because I'm actually going to also have a track meet here in Houston as well, at the University of Houston. An indoor meet is going to be in my name as well. And I'm like, the more that you can put your name on to help the youth, and not like, 'cause I don't want to just have a meet. I want it to be much more than that, to feed their souls, feed my soul. So that's what I'm out here doing.
And to piggyback on what, I haven't told Kellie about this yet, so I hope she doesn't kill me, but they have a new indoor facility in Virginia, and we want to do want to call it the 757 Olympic Stars Meet. So we want to bring all of the Olympians, the track and
Breaking
field.
news right here. Breaking news.
It is breaking news. It is breaking news. Like,
You
I'm
already
like,
know I'm down. You know I'm in. You know.
gonna have the Queen Harrisons, LaShawn Harriet, Kellie, Yvette, me, Brandon Jones, Levon Adelet. We're gonna do a 757 Olympic Stars meet.
That's
So
awesome.
yes.
That
So
is-
Let's do it.
I should have told you off camera, but
I'm in. I like the surprise better. I'm in.
We like breaking news here at the 757 Roundtable Talk.
and y'all are more than welcome to come out.
I know. Bring the youth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Bring the youth.
definitely. I mean, both of you are very inspiring. And seriously, Carl and I really last year talked about what could we do with Hampton Roads Youth Foundation and bringing you guys in some way and highlighting some of the wonderful things that you've both been doing. I mean, seriously, like last year, and we still have some thoughts because we've been so proud of what you guys have done on the track and off the track, and hearing it and sharing it with with our audience and with us. I mean, it's everything. This is just a little bit of, I think, what it could be on an even bigger scale. So for both of your initiatives, I know personally, whatever I could do to help, count me in.
Yeah, likewise.
Don't play. Don't play. I will.
I was gonna say, because look, we need y'all, because I just want to get track and field more exposure in the area. Because honestly, when people come into the area, they hear Allen Iverson, Michael Vick, like they hear of like it's like, damn, well, we got some Olympians from the area too.
No, I'm with you.
We got one or two ideas that we'll share off camera, especially as we're going into our 25-year anniversary next year, and maybe we could pull something special together.
Okay,
Put some stuff together.
we on board.
Fran, tell me, let's answer this question. Are you still running? And what's your next process if you are? Where are you right now in your career?
Yes, so I am still running. COVID pushed back the 20 Olympics into 2021. So being, the go-getter and grinder that I am, I started some real estate adventures. So I'm going to be dabbling in that because you can't put all your eggs in one basket, like Kellie said. So, because honestly, it's so uncertain. We don't know if they're going to have the Olympics next year or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and to be honest, to be transparent, we had to make them move it to next year. Like, the athletes had to rally together. Like, they didn't want to lose money for, like, that they had already put in. So, like, they made the decision at the last minute. So, I've been August until, when did they make the decision? Like, March. Like, oh, you're not going this year. So, at that moment, all of your dreams are crushed. So it was devastating for sure. But you gotta pick it back up, dust yourself up, and try it again.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, we appreciate again your time. We know you're busy. You got a lot of things going on. So again, we appreciate the time and especially some of the inspiring things that you both share with personally and professionally.
We're never too busy for y'all, so like y'all might be too busy for us.
No, never that.
I'm not a mom, but I'm like a first-time mom with baby Kellie. Like, that's my baby. Like, I don't got no mom, I don't got no husband, but Kellie, these kids, I gotta go get my baby right now.
All right. All right, we appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we thank you so much for coming on. We really do. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having us, for real. Thank you. It means a lot.
Sorry I was late, y'all. Sorry I was late.
Hey,
we're good.
We're all right. Thank you, Fran. I really appreciate you even trying to make it on. I really appreciate it.
All right. See y'all later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.